to my channel, and if you are new here, welcome. I'm so excited that you are here. Recently I've been getting a lot of questions on how I was able to cut our grocery budget down to $100 every 2 weeks for a family of 5. So I decided to do a video and share some tips on why I decided to go that low and some of the things that helped us. So we were used to going to the store every single Saturday, and we were spending about $650 to $700 a month on groceries. Now, to some people with a family of 5, that may sound like a normal budget for you, but for us, I found that we were really wasteful when it came to food. So I'm going to share some of the things that helped us. The first thing that you should do is to create a budget. Now, by creating a budget, you're going to think about the amount of money that you typically spend on groceries already and see if you can deduct $50 from that amount. And some of the ways that helped us was to think about some of the things that we typically buy that we don't necessarily need, or things that don't make sense. And for us, one of the things where when you have kids, you want to buy a bunch of snacks. We were constantly buying the variety bags of chips where there's 24 in the bag and it's like $7. Well, we decided instead of buying those, we would go to the Dollar Tree and buy the dollar bags of chips, typically about 3 different bags, buy snack size little sandwich bags, and then separate the chips and put those in it. So those are just examples. So once you create your budget, then I want you to go in your kitchen or wherever your pantry, your freezer is, because I know some people have more than one freezer. So you're going to do an inventory, and you're going to inventory everything that you have on hand. Now, if you have a lot of food in your fridge, in your pantry, freezer, don't do an inventory. Just look and see some of the things that you already have on hand. Now, I made this little worksheet for myself. You do not need a worksheet. All you need is a piece of paper and a pen to write it down and do the inventory. So one of the things you're going to be checking in your pantry's inventory is to look for things that you can use for more than one meal, like tomato sauce, cans of cream of chicken or cream of mushrooms. And those are the things that you want to try to write down that you have in your pantry, because you can use those more than once. When you do your inventory of your freezer, write down the meats that you have and the amount. If you don't, if it's not a freezer full, then it's okay to write down if you have 3 things of hamburger meat, 3 things of steak, or whatever. Just make that list so you can see what you have on hand. The next thing I want you to do is start thinking about using what you already have. If you have a freezer full of meat and you have a pantry with tomato sauce, cream of chicken, or a can of mixed vegetables, then you can probably cut a few things out of your next grocery bill just by using what you have on hand. And that's one of the things that we did. After we did our inventory, we decided to first cook what we had on hand, and we were able to skip a week without having to go buy groceries. After we did our inventory, the next tip that I want you to do is meal plan. And by meal planning, I mean sit down with a list of foods that you already have on hand and think of meals that you can create from those foods. If you don't have any idea of what you can make, go online, check allrecipes.com or Google what can I cook with hamburger meat, recipes for chicken. You're going to get so many different ideas, and you can make those meals for your family for the week that you're not going to be going to the store. So once you have an idea of the meals that you're going to plan for a week, anything that you don't have on hand that you need for that recipe, then you can go on and you can add it down here to your grocery list. See, if you want to do a little worksheet yourself at home, this is the way I suggest you do it. You have your inventory of what you have in the pantry, and then your inventory of what you have on the freezer, and you can add what you have in the fridge also. And then you're going to write your meal ideas down, and you already know what you need and what you need to buy. Then you'll put it under your grocery list. So after you have meal plan, then you make a list. Okay, you know what you need because you know what you don't have in the freezer or what you don't have in the pantry. So you're going to go and you're going to make your list of everything that you need. And there's always two things that I typically take to the store with me besides my list. It's a pen and it's a calculator. And the reason why I bring a calculator is because I don't like any surprises when I get to the register. I live in Louisiana, but Texas is like 15-20 minutes away from me. So I go over to Texas to buy my food where there's no sales tax. So that works out well for me. Once you have made your list, you want to come up with a plan when you are grocery shopping. If you already know what you're there to buy, you know what you need, go on those aisles and get the things that you need. That way you're not kind of walking around in the store blindly, not knowing what you need. You know, you got your list, you got your budget, you have a plan. Another thing that I want you to think about when you're doing your budget is to leave a little wiggle room. And the reason why you want to leave a little wiggle room is because there are going to be things that you are going to see in the store that are on sale that you didn't know was on sale. And for instance, if you have done your pantry inventory and you already have 3 cans of tomato sauce, but you go in the store and typically tomato sauce is 50 cents. Well, today it's on sale for 33 cents. I would go ahead and at least get 2 of those cans because we use a lot of tomato sauce, and that will save us to go ahead and get it while it's cheaper. So it's okay to leave a little bit of wiggle room in your budget for things that you might can find on sale. Another tip, buy what you can cheap at cheaper stores. And what I mean by this is, I know everybody does not have a Dollar Tree in their area, but if you do have a Dollar Tree, there are so many things that you can buy from Dollar Tree that will save you money. One of those things for me is eggs. We typically buy eggs every time we go to the grocery store, and usually eggs are about $1.97 for the cheapest carton, and that's when they're not doing a sale. So I will get my eggs from the Dollar Tree. There's also things that you wouldn't think about that's cheaper at other stores. Would be my seasonings, like my pepper, salt. Sometimes those seasonings are a little bit cheaper at the Dollar Tree. Now, just because it's a dollar store and everything in that store is $1 doesn't necessarily mean that it's cheaper. So you want to know your stores. At Walmart, that's where I buy all of my groceries at. Sometimes I'll branch out to a different store, but most of the time it's Walmart. So if I go to Dollar Tree to get canned goods, they're $1. But it does not make sense for me to get the canned goods from the Dollar Tree because Walmart typically sells their canned goods for 50 cents, somewhere between 50 cents and 65 cents. So if it makes sense to get it cheaper at a cheaper store, you want to go ahead and do that. Now, the next tip is basically when you go to pick your meats, buy meat if the store has it that may be reduced. Now, I know some people may feel a certain way about buying reduced meats, because I used to be that person that would not buy reduced meat because I felt like it was bad. But if you look at the sales price, it will say cook or freeze by this date. And typically at my store, that date is like 2 days away from the day that I am actually buying groceries. So if it is cheaper, I will buy that meat. And when we go home, if we're not going to cook it, we go right ahead and we freeze it. It's not something you want to keep in the fridge for a few days and not cook, because then when you go to cook it, it may very well be bad. So either cook it that day or freeze it. Another thing when it comes to meat, what we have done that has saved us a lot of money is buy a whole chicken. You can cook that whole chicken and take the meat apart and use it for more than one meal. You could use it for chicken and spaghettis, a casserole, anything. You can use it for a soup. So that's one of the things that has helped my family save money on groceries. Now, another way that we save money is on Sundays, we typically will make a big meal. Like we may make a big pot of soup or a large casserole. Well, that meal is big enough for us to eat the next day and maybe even another day. And I know if some of you out there may be the type of people that does not like leftovers, because I got that comment when I was asked at work, how do we save money? And I told them one of the things we do is cook a large meal on Sundays, and then when we get in from work on Mondays, we already know what we're gonna eat because it's leftover, and if we have enough for the next day, we'll eat it. And what I got back was, oh no, we don't eat leftovers, or oh no, my kids, they won't eat it if it's leftover. So what I said to that was, still make a large meal, and if your family doesn't like leftovers, that's fine. Go ahead and freeze half of that meal, save it for another day, and then it's not leftover. It actually will save you time when you come in from work. All you have to do is get that meal out of the freezer, pop it in the oven, and that creates more time for you to do other things with your family. Now, I talk about buying things cheap, and the canned goods that I mentioned at Walmart, they are cheaper, but they are generic brand. It is okay sometimes to buy things that are generic versus name brand. Now, there are some things that I will not buy generic of, but for the most part, if generic is cheaper, I'm going to get generic brand. Now, when I talk about freezing the meat or freezing half of the meal that you cook, if it's a soup that you're going to cook, or say it's beans that you're going to cook, and you don't have any freezer bowls, I suggest getting the freezer bags and putting that meal in the bag, and then lay the bag down flat and put that in your freezer to freeze. Now, I do not want you to get the generic cheap freezer bags because those may not hold up well. Go ahead and get the more expensive ones, the Glade, that are actually food freezer storage bags. And if you have to, double them up to make sure there's no leaks or anything like that in your freezer. Another thing that we do, if you eat a lot of ground beef, one of the things you can do, like for us, we don't buy the cheapest ground beef. we will get like the 93.7% fat. And the reason being is because it's heart healthier. And we just try to make sure we get the leaner cuts of the beef. So I will buy maybe 3 rolls of the lean beef, but I will save money by buying ground chicken or ground turkey. I do believe that ground pork is available in some stores, but we are a family that does not eat pork, so I can't tell you the prices on that. But I do know that Walmart sells ground turkey cheaper than ground beef, and ground chicken is actually cheaper than the both of those. And if you've never tried ground chicken, it is amazing. My husband makes the best ground chicken meatloaf ever. So that's another little tip that we use. And when I was thinking of the video and asking my family some of the things that we've done to cut back, because it's a family effort, it's not just me. We discuss things that we can do to save money together. And my kids were thinking of things, and my daughter wanted everybody to know also that Dollar Tree has TV dinners that are $1. If you are the person that likes to take your lunch to work and you like to bring TV dinners, well, Dollar Tree does have lean cuisines and other small freezer meals for $1. So that's a great way to save money. And my little one wanted everybody to know that Dollar Tree has cheaper candy and sodas. So those are things to check out. And if you have any other questions about anything, how we save money, leave me a comment down below. But guys, we were able to go from like $600 to $700 a month down to $200 a month for a family of 5 just by cutting back. There's a lot of other things that we've done that I may not have listed. So if there's anything that you can think of that I didn't talk about, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. Let me know ways that your family saves money on your grocery bill. And see you guys in the next one. And if you are new, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much.